Hello, everybody. Happy May 4th, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, we have the Juco head coach for women's basketball. His name, Jeremy Thompson from Monroe College. Coach Thompson, thanks so much for being able to come on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. I think first off, two Albertus guys. You a former assistant coach for women's basketball. Myself, a former athlete and student at Albertus. This could get quite interesting very quickly.
Yeah, I have a lot of good memories from Albertus. That was a starting point for me, and I love the school, and I had some great experiences there. It was really awesome.
We'll get into that, as far as your time with Albertus in just a moment. You have a track record as far as you've been to a lot of places. Your name is in a lot of circles, man. Just talk to me about kind of where you started off in your coaching career and what led you to Monroe College.
So, I came from a background. I was the only one that played basketball in my family. I didn't come from a very athletic background, so I kind of had to do it on my own. But I started coaching in high school at Staples High School, which kind of was what started my career in coaching. And we had the opportunity to build that program and kind of moved around a little bit in the high school basketball circuit. Spent a while in AAU, getting to know a lot of people. I ran my own AAU program for 3 years. Had a lot of players be very successful from there. And just by knowing so many of these players and being able to bring them in, JR was a graduate of one of the high schools that I coached at, and he got in touch with me and brought me over to Albertus, and that was kind of the beginning. And then getting a chance to work for a guy like JR put me in a position. I learned so much. He's probably one of the best coaches out there, and he taught me how to have thick skin. He taught me how to recruit. He taught me one of the best things that he ever said to me was, you gotta love what you do and do what you love. And that always stuck with me. And he always used to tell me all the time, like, one day your basketball is going to stop bouncing back up. And one of the lessons that I've picked up during this, all this time is that, once you're in the game is great, but staying in the game is the most important thing. So I went from Albertus over to Mitchell College, very successful season there. We brought in some very talented players. And mid-semester, we were able to bring in a girl from New Britain, Deja Santana, who was really talented. She really helped us out. Did a lot of skill development there and turned a team that was very athletic into a very talented basketball team. And then, our success there led me to having the opportunity to come out to City College in New York. And I was the associate head coach there with a guy who I would say is probably my biggest mentor and probably one of the best coaches in the country at any level. He was the assistant and director of operations for Steve Lavin at UCLA men's basketball in the 90s when they made all those Sweet 16s, and when they made the Elite Eight with Earl Watson and all those guys. And he had spent some time at Seattle University. He started his career with Lake Superior State. He had connections all over the country, and he had won a ton of championships overseas in the Middle East as a head coach. And he basically gave me the opportunity to learn how to be a head coach, and probably one of my closest friends to this day. And, when the season ended, he retired after a very long and very successful career. And, he knew that I wanted to be a head coach. He knew I wanted to be in New York City, close to home. And, I got a chance to go over to, Monroe, and, they brought me in to build the program. And, it's been quite a ride, and it's been awesome so far.
Is there one place in particular, either Staples, Mitchell, Albertus, so on and so forth, that, throughout your journey, is there one in particular that kind of stands out as, I don't want to say a turning point, but in your coaching career kind of really left an imprint on you that you still carry with you today?
Yeah. I think Albertus obviously is my first job was, one of the things that kind of made me the person that I am. And then I think from there, my time at City College was crucial. Even though only as the associate head coach, that was everything. I learned so much from X's and O's to strategy to different recruiting techniques. And, Jamie Angeli is a guy that, if you Google him or you put him in YouTube, he's one of the most published and covered guys on anything. And, working with him and being his, right-hand guy it was awesome. That is kind of, I talked to him every day during my season, my first year at Monroe. I used to call him every single day on the way to work. And, that's really where I found, I figured out how I was going to be a head coach and direction of my career.
You've been around a lot of some, legendary coaches. You mentioned about the one previously. Also, Mitch Oliver as well at Albertus, who, you and I were just talking prior to coming on about how you learned about the 1-2-2 press. And I don't want to say so much learned about it, but being able to fine tune it and see how Mitch was able to run that system and implement that into your coaching style.
Yeah, Mitch might be, one of the best men's coaches I've ever had a chance to interact with. I had always been kind of a 1-2-2 press guy. I like the ability to either slow down and use it as a stall or use it as an aggressive trap press. And Mitch had the athletes to coach up and do it, really aggressively. And he was kind enough to let me in his practices, obviously being on the women's side at the same school. And he's a fantastic teacher of the, speed, IQ, and angles you need to take in the 1-2-2 for you to be really successful. And his intensity on the court, we try and mirror that to some degree because we want to be able to teach the 1-2-2 with the urgency that you need to have in a game. And, one of my fondest memories being at Mitchell is watching him on, it must have been an early day in October, like probably right before the season started. He had his guys doing a half court press drill. And they were sliding from wing to middle, following the ball. And I never seen guys fly so hard, middle wing. And I was like, you know what, if you can replicate this intensity, this could really, get your team going. And so we've tried to do that and we implemented it. It took us a little while to get good at it. And, I talked to Mitch and I talked to Coach Hickey, who's now at Fairfield Prep. And he kind of, we went over a lot of the stuff that I used to watch and we did our very best to implement it over at Monroe. And it was a lot of fun. I don't think we're at the same level of intensity as Mitch Oliver, but I think that, I hope to get there because if you can have his intensity and command the court and have your players, mirror that, then you're certainly doing the right job.
Mitch is one of those coaches where it seems like almost like Belichickian-esque as far as being able to kind of put yourself in the right place at the right time as he has, being able to put his players in the best situation. I'll never forget, I think it was my junior year, right before, because I played baseball for Albertus, so we sometimes would practice in the gym, and the basketball team would practice before us. So we would sit and watch, and sometimes if I got out of class early, I would go there and just watch the practice. And they were doing, it was, I don't remember the name of the drill, but it was, they would put 3 seconds on the clock, on the game clock, and right before the buzzer, Mitch would want them to get 2 passes off and to put the position of whoever was the best shooter at the time in a right place. And they would practice it continuously. And I looked at one of my buddies and I was like, why are they, like, at the time I was stupid. I said, why are they doing this? There's no need. They could be doing other stuff. And Mitch, or my buddy, said, Mitch has a plan. He has an idea. Come to find out, 3 days later, they're playing JWU. They're down by 2. And you can imagine what happens. The same thing that they were practicing, they made the shot and they won the game. And I looked at my buddy who I just asked 2 days ago, and he's like, there's your answer.
Yeah, he's an extremely strategic guy, but I think he also knows how to condition his players and give them, teach them the skills that they need while also preparing for some of the opponents. And that's why I think he's so successful. He can analyze X's and O's, and run drills to break down what the players need to know fairly quickly. And one of my greatest memories was, Mitch doesn't always let people into practice. Sometimes what goes on, he likes to run his stuff and, have the attention and not have distractions. And JR used to ask me when I came into the office if I was in Mitch's practice. He said to me, all right, what drill was Mitch running today that we could steal from him? Like, what's going on in Oliver's practice that we could take? And there was a drill where he had his girls, or we had our girls do it, but he had his guys stand on the foul line. And he had another group at half court. And he had the group on the foul line. They had 8 seconds to sprint to the far baseline, touch it, and get back. And the group at half court had a basketball. And whenever that 8 seconds went off, they could just attack the basket. So it was a transition defense drill. And he would quietly lower the time from 8 to 7.5 to 7. And these guys would get tired and tired and tired. So I told JR, I said, we got to try this drill. And obviously, as the assistant, I'm not too sure a lot of the girls were happy with, me bringing that into our practice, but it made us a better transition offense team, better transition defense team. We adapted the drill, I think, to fit more of what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to, JR used to ask me all the time, what drill can we steal from Mitch Oliver's practices? I used to laugh, but him and Mitch go way back also in their coaching careers. So their relationship is awesome, and I think getting to be witness to their interactions and a lot of the stuff they used to talk about, especially hoops and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, that helped me grow a lot as a person.
And JR, it seems like he really, helped you as far as an assistant coach and being able to kind of show you the ropes before becoming the head coach at Monroe, which, where you are right now. I don't want to say what was the one thing that he kind of helped you with, because I feel like there's a lot. So give me a couple of the main things that he did for you that kind of brought you to becoming a head coach and be a successful one at that.
So before I talk about JR, just real quick with a quick story about Mitch. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the beginning, like the turning point in my career of like understanding what I had to do. I think nowadays everybody wants to get that job immediately and get to the top. And when I was young assistant, I always wanted to know, like, how do you get to where JR and Mitch were? So I remember I was in Mitch's office just chatting up with him and talking about, whatever X's and O's or whatever we were talking about that day. And as I was leaving the office, I said to him, I said, Coach, what do you think it's gonna take to be a head coach at this level?
Mm-hmm.
And he looked at me and he said, the non-explicit version, learn how to be the best assistant coach you can before you even think about being a head coach. And that really stuck with me. And then, with JR, there were a few things. Recruiting is extremely important at any level, but JR used to send me all over Connecticut at all times and days, Saturdays, Sundays, games at 7:00, hours and hours away. And when I first started, I used to love recruiting. I used to love being in the environment, but I used to give JR a hard time about, having to go all these places. And then eventually I learned that it was helping me meet a lot of people, but I was also, continuing to use my connections from having been in high school to, recruit to Alberta. So JR really taught me the different strategies of recruiting, creative ways to recruit, and how you build that drive. And I was always motivated. You could ask JR. I was in the office all the time, even, though I was part-time. Like, I always wanted to learn. I wanted to do whatever it took. I sweep the floors before games by myself. I washed the floors before practice if I had time. Like, I would do anything. My firm belief is there's no job that's too good for anybody to do, whether you're a head coach or you're an assistant. And I still live by that now. So, the recruiting side and kind of the get your hands dirty side, JR taught me. And then one of the other things he taught me was, he always used to tell me as a young assistant, it's how you present yourself, your body language, everything, like how you dress, how you, show up to the game, and, how you act as like a real professional in this business. And when I got the job at Monroe, he called me to congratulate me. And we talked for a little while, reminisced obviously on some, good times. And he, before we got off the call, he said something to me, and I tell this to everybody pretty much, is he said to me, I just want to give you one piece of advice. And it's actually funny because when I was with JR, I went out to recruit a junior college game. And when I came back, I said to JR, I think I'd be a great fit at this level. And he was like, yeah, I really do too. And so we were on the phone, and he said, Jeremy, before I hop off this call, you just got to know that now you're a head coach. So every day has to be a good day.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand that now, that, as soon as I get up, once I leave my house, I've got to be on point all day. There's no, you got to control your reactions. You got to, control everything you do and be on point. And, every day does have to be a good day, because you're leading a group of women every day and trying to build success. And whether you're in the preseason, off season, or you're right in the middle of it, you've got to be the best version of yourself every day. And I think that's probably the lasting impact that JR left on me.
It really sounds like he was almost like, I don't know, maybe a father figure, a bigger brother, an older brother to you. It really seems like both, he, Mitch, but mainly JR, really kind of were guiding you and making sure that, you were ready for this job now at Monroe.
Yeah, JR was like a tough older brother. He used to see how far he could, push things to, get me to understand them, but also put the pressure on me to understand, why he was doing things in game, in practice, and I'll always be grateful for the time that he spent helping me as an individual. But it's stuff that it's the interactions that we had all season. We spend every day together pretty much. We had some great trips, great games, great pregame, postgame talks. We're together all the time at that time in my career, and being able to pick his brain and have that relationship with him is awesome. We still talk all the time, and hopefully I get some players that head out to Albertus, obviously, and again, he's still doing a great job over there, which is awesome to see. He's got some really talented players. So.
And you did pretty good yourself in your first year with Monroe. I mean, think about 19 wins the previous 2 seasons, 12 wins, 7 wins. So already, I mean, I'm not good at math, but that's pretty good as far as an uptick percentage-wise. And then you consider that in your first year, more points per game and less turnovers compared to the other 2 years. So you're doing something right, Coach Thompson.
Yeah, I think our strategy is, when I took over, I have a different strategy in coaching that's probably unique to me, but also built around the guys that I learned from.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to balance it out. I like to play a lot of transition basketball, but I also like, to be able to have my players be able to read and control the game and make, good decisions. And I think that, our focus from the beginning of the year was, we brought in a very talented recruiting class, and it was really exciting. I think that nobody really, with the history that Monroe had prior, I don't think anybody expected us to have that successful of a season. And we got into the gym as soon as we could day one, and we worked as hard as we could individually on shooting to get these kids who were talented players and talented athletes, to improve their offense. And we had players that weren't, necessarily scorers coming out of high school turn into, from the work we did with them, turn into 20 plus points a game. Perfect example is one of our shooting guards / small forward, Barbara Valentin. She was I think she was like 12 points, 10 rebounds out of high school, and we had been working on perfecting her shot, changing the shot arc, the release, the angle of the release. I mean, we looked at video where we were able to track her shot arc, so many things. And by mid-season, she was the second leading scorer on the team. She finished averaging, she had 10 plus rebounds a game, but in 19 games before she got hurt, I mean, she had multiple games over 20, and I think she had 27 against Suffolk or Rockland, and and it was stuff like that, and individuals like that where we had a lot of great success. I think that the turnover thing comes from my attention on turnovers in every drill, and we track turnovers in everything, and that's something I learned from Coach Gately at Fordham, is the importance of detail. And what we did is, I think there were 2 things that we did that was really great. The first thing that we did is, like, we taught every drill we did, there was I wouldn't say there was a consequence if you lost, but I think there was more of like, losing. We have to teach them not how they want to win, but how to hate to lose. And we were as competitive as we could be. And if there were days that practice broke down, I would just let them go and play, just get after each other, play, and let them talk a little smack and let them, be a little physical. And, that brought a competitive edge. But I think that, overall through everything we did, focusing on making sure we took the best shot, the right shot, and also, defensively, getting back, making sure we, I always teach them no layup is a guarantee. So we did a great job of recovering when we gave up the ball. And, I think that with our players and the development of their IQ, we were able to, not turn the ball over as much as in past years. I think also we had a couple games with a lot of turnovers. We go back and look at the film and just, we did a lot of film work, and they were great. They really learned how to play together, and they made them very successful.
What was the first thing, as far as when you became the head coach for Monroe, what was the one thing that you felt like took the longest to be able to, I don't want to say kind of break the mold, but just try to, put into the program? Was it work ethic? Was it, just trying to toughen up the women? I mean, what was the one thing that kind of was the hardest to be able to break?
It's tough because when I came in Monroe, we didn't really there were no returners. I think we had one returner, but we didn't really have any returners the whole season.
Mhm.
And so it was a brand new group, and I'm the brand new head coach. So everything that we started was brand new for everybody. And I think sharing that bond with our team was awesome. That we all were in this together. Our motto was start unknown, finish unforgettable. It wasn't that we were all these big time names. We were trying to be, we were trying to be the best at what we could do. And I think the hardest thing is, you plan so much in the off season for how you're going to implement everything once you get on the court. Like, how am I going to teach this? How am I going to teach, offense, defense, press, quick hitters? But you don't want to overload the kids because you want them to be able to just learn what they need to, because in a matter of weeks, especially at the junior college level, you play 30 games. So they've got to be able to understand a scout to some degree. Obviously, junior college is a lot about player development. And they got to be ready to play pretty much every day, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And you're on the road 3-4 hours, play, come back, do it again, and not a lot of rest. And I think the challenge, I think for us, the hardest thing we had to really teach was, we had tough kids. That was not a problem. We had kids that had, high IQ at the positions that needed it. So we were able to get into different offensive sets. I think implementing a style of play when you have so many girls that come from different programs and are used to different styles, getting on the same page in the sense of working together in style of play was important. And then I also think, making sure that everybody, valued and appreciated the grind that it took to play at this level. You can ask any one of my players, they'll tell you, I warned them in the recruiting process, this game is played at a different speed than high school. And they would be like, no, I'm fast, I'm in shape. I remember our first 2 or 3 games, some of my best players are coming over the sideline like, Coach, I can't breathe. You got to get me out. You got to get me out. I can't breathe. And, that wasn't an you got to learn how to play at this level. And, my point guard and my shooting guard and, some of my post players early on were like, I need a burn, Coach. And, that put the pressure on people to learn how to step up. But, by a couple months in, we were right where we needed to be.
And it's led to, as I alluded to before, it's led to success, and you've really kind of laid a foundation already and some bricks. I can only imagine what the next couple years will bring as far as continuing to build from last year and to really kind of, formulate what could be a complete house.
Yeah, we have some excellent returners across the board at a lot of positions, which is really awesome. And we also, so far, I mean, it's only May 4th, and we're certainly not done, but we also have an outstanding recruiting class coming in. And I think, obviously, in junior college, there's a quick turnover. So you've got to build these. You have 2 years kind of with each group to get it right. But, I think that, combining the players that we had along with some of these really talented recruits is going to be awesome. I think the one thing we struggled with was height. We asked a lot of players to get down and do the dirty work on the boards, where we didn't really have a girl over 5'10", which was a challenge. Certainly when you're playing teams in your conference with 6'3", 6'5", and obviously 6'7", who ended up, moving on to UMBC. But, our ability to compete with these teams, it surprised people. And it was, I think, had a lot to do with the heart that our kids had. And I think now we've established the culture. My culture is pretty simple. It's effort and attitude leads to opportunity. That's the culture. If you put in the effort and you can show up every single day, I don't need you to be in the best mood. I just need you to have the attitude that you want to practice and you want to get better. And if you're able to put effort and attitude into it, I'll create the most opportunities as a coach, whether it's on or off the court, for my team. And I think that we got to do a lot of cool stuff as a team, and it came from them being committed to, what we were implementing. So I'm hoping that, all my recruits understand that our principles are effort and attitude. And I know that, that's the type of kid we're recruiting. So I think we're going to I'm looking forward to what should be an exciting year this coming year.
Coach, it sounds like the future is bright in Monroe. You did a great job your first year, and, I wish you the best of luck the rest of the way. You've just about run out of time. Coach Thompson, thanks so much for being able to come on. I really do appreciate it. Being able to turn back the clock, looking back at some great Albertus times, which, I mean, we could talk on and on about that, but now being able to see you succeed with Monroe as a former Albertus person makes me very happy to see that.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's good to see people that kind of came through the Alberta system being successful, like yourself and like so many other people from, Alberta that I had a chance to work with. I think that it's a great school, plenty of opportunity there, and I'm lucky enough to be where I am thanks to some help on the way. But thanks for having me on. It's always a great opportunity to talk Alberta's basketball and reminisce, and have a chance to during this whole time to think back and reflect on how'd we get here, and
Mm.
what are we going to do next. So I appreciate you having me on. It was a really good time.
No, no problem, man. You're always welcome to come back, come back on before, during, after the season. The door is always open for you, man.
Yeah, be happy anytime. Love to talk hoops, and there is an abundance of stories of being in Alberta, so there's never short of anything to talk about.
That's great to hear. Well, that'll wrap things up here on the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.